Chapter 15-17. Yi Xian looked up, and there was a demon beast standing not too far away from him. The demon beast was like an ape and it was as strong as a hill. Its arms were like pillars and it had a tail behind it. Demon King Xiuqiu. Xiuqiu looked down at Yi Xian. Human, you want to go through the Great Desolation Mountain Range? Yi Xian nodded. Xiuqiu spread its legs and smiled. Don't say that I didn't give you a chance. Come, go under my crotch. Yi Xian nodded and then he walked over to Xiuqiu. In the next moment he suddenly drew his sword and stabbed it towards Xiuqiu's crotch. Bang! A ray of light stabbed Xiuqiu's crotch, but Xiuqiu's crotch wasn't damaged at all. After his attack failed, Yi Xian instantly retreated 300 m. Xiuqiu looked down at Yi Xian, patted his crotch and sneered, "That's it?" Yi Xian clenched his sword tightly in his left hand. The defense of Xiuqiu's body was even stronger than the demon beast he'd encountered earlier. Another tough nut to crack. However, there wasn't a trace of fear in his eyes, and there was even more excitement. Xiuqiu sneered, "A tiny ant dares to trespass into my Great Desolation Mountain Range? You really don't know your place." Right at this moment Yi Xian suddenly said, "You talk a lot of bullshit." As soon as he finished speaking, he suddenly vanished on the spot. A ray of light slashed down towards Xiuqiu's head. Xiuqiu sneered and didn't dodge, allowing Yi Xian's sword to strike its head. Bang! The ray of light exploded, but there wasn't even a mark left on Xiuqiu's head. However, the space above its head had been slashed apart. Xiuqiu looked at Yi Xian and ridiculed, "Human you!" Suddenly, over 100 dark swords of energy appeared in the pitch-black space above its head. Xiuqiu frowned slightly when it sensed this scene and it looked up. Meanwhile, the dark swords of energy exploded. Rumble. Along with an explosion, the space around Xiu Qingxing shattered apart, and the powerful force blasted Xiu Qingxing 300 m away. At the same time, the space in an area of 3 kilometers had turned pitch black. After elegant capture stopped, its expression directly became hideous because over 100 blood-colored sword scars appeared all over its body. Graceful capture looked at the distant Yi Xian, and at this moment, in front of it was a dense swarm of dark energy swords, numbering in the tens of thousands. In the distance, Yi Xian suddenly issued a command in his heart, and the tens of thousands of swords shot directly towards Xiuqiu. Xiuqiu's eyes narrowed slightly when he witnessed this scene. In the next moment he took a step forward and suddenly smashed his fist forward. This punch shook the heavens and earth. Rumble. In the blink of an eye, countless energy swords shattered, and numerous explosions resounded ceaselessly while elegant capture retreated explosively. It could only be described as grinding. However, it was very dangerous. Because while elegant capture's speed was inferior to his, its strength far surpassed his. So long as he wasn't careful, he might be killed by a single punch. Just like that, Yi Xian forcefully tortured Xiuqiu for 4 hours. At this moment, Xiuqiu's body already had many blood-colored sword scars. Although they were not deep, these sword scars were getting deeper and deeper. Because every single strike of Yi Xian's would strike those marks. On the other hand, elegant capture grew more and more restless. Because he noticed that he couldn't do anything to Yi Xian. Yi Xian was too wretched. Yi Xian never fought it head-on. Each of its punches had the power to destroy the world. However, Yi Xian just did not take it head-on. That made it extremely angry. And it was exactly because of this that it became more and more agitated as it fought. On the other hand, Yi Xian grew more and more excited as he fought. Because he noticed that the strength of his sword was growing stronger and stronger. Moreover, he also discovered that his reaction speed had become faster. Because the slightest carelessness might cause him to be heavily injured when fighting elegant capture. So, he couldn't afford to make any mistakes. Just like this, time passed bit by bit, and Yi Xian tortured Xiuqiu for an entire 6 hours. At this moment, the sword marks on Xiuqiu's body were getting deeper and deeper, and its entire body was already dyed red with blood. On the other hand, Yi Xian's countenance was slightly pale. Because he couldn't afford to make any mistakes. So, he'd been maintaining a high degree of concentration throughout these past few hours. Such concentration consumed a lot of his strength. However, he grew more and more excited as he fought. Moreover, he seemed to have entered into a strange state. Presently, his mind was filled with a single thought, and that was to fight. A frenzied battle. Numerous rays of light crisscrossed ceaselessly. Yi Xian's sword was growing faster and sharper. On the other hand, even though elegant capture had calmed himself down, he was still helpless against Yi Xian's wretched method of fighting. He'd been constantly waiting for Yi Xian to make a mistake, but Yi Xian just didn't make a mistake. He didn't make a single mistake. Just like that, another 4 hours passed. Yi Xian suddenly dodged backwards and dodged Elegant Kurjan's fatal blow. After he stopped, Elegant Kurjan suddenly said coldly, "Human, if this continues, will you be able to outlast me?" Yi Xian waved the sword in his hand and smiled, "Cut the crap and continue fighting." As soon as he finished speaking, he transformed into a ray of light that vanished on the spot. A ray of light tore through the surroundings. Elegant Capture suddenly spoke fiercely when he witnessed this scene, "Attack!" However, he realized that Yi Xian's sword was becoming stronger. The human in front of him was constantly becoming stronger. With this in mind, Demon Monarch Mount Mang suddenly turned his head. "Have you seen enough?" The moment he said that, laughter suddenly came from afar. "Demon Monarch Mount Mang, it looks like you can't take him down." As the voice faded, a man suddenly appeared behind Demon Monarch Mount Mang. The man wore a loose black robe, and his hands were hidden in his wide sleeves. Demon Monarch Guyu. He was also one of the 10 great demon monarchs. He was ranked 4th, just ahead of Demon Monarch Mount Mang. Demon Monarch Mount Mang glanced at Demon Monarch Guyu. "Let's join forces." Demon Monarch Guyu smiled. Demon Monarch Mount Mang, this human isn't simple. Demon Monarch Mount Mang was expressionless. How is he not simple? Demon Monarch Guyu looked at the distant Yi Xian and said with a smile, "Such a young swordsman has such terrifying combat strength. Tell me, do you think he's an ordinary person?" Just as Demon Monarch Mount Mang was about to speak, Yi Xian suddenly said, "You don't know me?" Demon Monarch Guyu looked at Yi Xian and said with a smile, "Of course I do. Your name is Yi Xian, right?" Yi Xian nodded. "I'm a little curious. How do you know me?" Demon Monarch Guyu smiled. "A mysterious person told us that you have a treasure on you. It's that mysterious purple gas. This purple gas can change a demon beast's bloodline, allowing them to break through their bloodline shackles. That mysterious person was right? Yi Xian wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and said, "Who is that mysterious person?" Demon Monarch Guyu shook his head. "I don't know." Yi Xian frowned slightly. "You don't know?" Demon Monarch Guyu smiled. "What? You don't know yourself?" There was a trace of doubt in Yi Xian's eyes. "Mysterious person? Is it the door of calamity?" Demon Monarch Guyu suddenly said, "Human, give us the purple gas and we will let you pass. What do you think?" Yi Xian looked at Demon Monarch Guyu. "I don't think so." With that said, he pointed his sword at Demon Monarch Guyu. "Both of you come at me together." He knew that he couldn't escape now. Since he couldn't escape, he had to fight. It didn't matter whether he could win or not. What was important was that he couldn't lose. In fact, he was panicking. Demon Monarch Guyu stared at Yi Xian. After a moment he suddenly laughed. "You're relying on that swordsman who came with you, right? I can tell you that he can't save you because he can't even protect himself." Yi Xian blinked. Suddenly he didn't feel so panicked anymore. At this time, the new Prince Yilang suddenly laughed. "You should be flogged 30 times as a warning." The great elder coldly replied, "Then flog 30 times. Very quickly, 2 Yi Mansion's guards rushed in. Yi Ling clenched her fists and said angrily, "This is unfair. My brother has risked his life for the family for so many years. Even now he is fighting for the family. The family is unfair to him." One of the guards glanced at the new Prince Yilang. He knew that his chance to shine had come. The guard sneered, "Young Master Yi Lang inherits the prince's position. What are you yelling about?" As he spoke, he raised his hand and slapped Yi Ling's face. Slap. A crisp slap sounded. The right side of Yi Ling's face instantly turned red and swollen. However, she did not cry. She only held her cheek tightly. Yi Lang looked at the guard and smiled. "What's your name?" The guard hurriedly bowed. "Subordinate Zhang Mu greets the prince." Yi Lang nodded. "You're not bad. After I become the prince, I will need 10 guards. You can be my guard from now on." Hearing this, Zhang Mu was overjoyed. He hurriedly bowed deeply. "Subordinate will go through fire and water for the prince. I will do anything for you." Yi Lang nodded slightly. "Drag him away. This person is disturbing the ancestral hall. Don't hold back. Understood?" Zhang Mu glanced at Yi Lang. When he saw the murderous intent in Yi Lang's eyes, he understood. He immediately grabbed Yi Ling's hair and dragged her out. At this moment, Zhang Mu seemed to see something and suddenly stopped. In the ancestral hall, everyone turned their heads to look outside. Not far from the ancestral hall, a young man was walking towards the ancestral hall. The young man was wearing a tight-fitting robe. The robe was tattered and covered in blood. The young man was Yi Xian, who had rushed back from Nanshan. Seeing Yi Xian, Yi Lang's mouth curled into a cold smile. In the ancestral hall, the elders frowned. The great elder narrowed his eyes. His face was dark and gloomy. No one knew what he was thinking. From afar, when Yi Xian saw Zhang Mu dragging Yi Ling, his face turned savage. Who gave you the guts to touch my sister? When Zhang Mu saw Yi Xian, his face changed. He hurriedly looked at Yi Lang and was about to speak. At this moment, Yi Xian leaped in front of him like a ferocious tiger. Before the latter could react, Yi Xian's fist landed on his face. Zhang Mu felt dizzy and he stumbled and fell. Yi Lang did not stop there. He rushed towards Zhang Mu again. At this time Yi Lang suddenly roared, "Yi Xian, he's my man. How dare you?" Yi Xian suddenly stepped on Zhang Mu's chest. Zhang Mu spat out a mouthful of blood. Seeing this, Yi Lang's face turned ugly. Yi Xian lifted his head to look at him, asking savagely, "Your man?" As he spoke, he stomped on Zhang Mu's face. Inside the world prison pagoda, the door of misfortune suddenly raised its head, its expression cold. "Idiot! Call for help." These people were too stupid. As soon as they saw Yi Xian, they would directly beat him up. They even gave him a chance to call for help? Call your mother. Let this guy call for help? If he called for help, what was the point of fighting? The door of misfortune was so angry that its chest hurt. Both of its chests hurt. She had no choice. Because she was currently being suppressed, she couldn't use the karma disaster technique. Otherwise, she wouldn't have found people from the Tian family to target Yi Xian. Because they were too stupid. These people were here to train Yi Xian. Don't be afraid of a strong opponent, only afraid of a pig-like teammate. Outside the world prison pagoda, Yi Xian smiled and said, "My big brother usually doesn't make a move." Tianlin smiled and said, "Big brother?" Yi Xian nodded and said, "He usually doesn't make a move." Tianlin smiled and said calmly, "In that case, your big brother is very powerful?" Yi Xian said seriously, "Of course he's very powerful." Tianlin revealed a playful smile and said, "How powerful is he?" Yi Xian thought for a moment and said, "Invincible." In his heart, swordsman Qing and that green-clothed man were all invincible. Invincible? Tianlin was stunned, and then he laughed and said, "You're saying that your big brother is invincible?" Yi Xian nodded. Tianlin shook his head and smiled. "Then can you call your big brother over? I want to see what it means to be invincible." Yi Xian was about to speak when a furious voice suddenly resounded, "Who's calling your mother?" As soon as the voice resounded, a woman suddenly appeared not too far away from Yi Xian. It was the door of misfortune. Yi Xian was slightly stunned. Why has this woman appeared again? Tianlin frowned slightly when she saw the door of misfortune. "Who are you?" The door of misfortune glanced coldly at Tianlin and said, "Call someone, call someone. I'll call you ancestor." As soon as she finished speaking, she suddenly smashed her fist forward. A bolt of mysterious blood lightning flashed through the air. Tianlin's expression changed drastically when he witnessed this scene, and he swiftly raised his arms to block it. Bang! Tianlin's figure was blasted flying, and he flew over 3 kilometers away. As soon as he stopped moving, his body instantly exploded into pieces. The others were slightly stunned when they witnessed this scene. Even Yi Xian was slightly stunned. Doesn't she want me dead? What was she trying to do? At this moment, Tianlin's mind had gone blank. My body was blasted apart with a single punch? Right at this moment, the door of misfortune suddenly clenched through the air and grabbed Tianlin's throat. She gazed coldly at Tianlin and said, "I don't understand. Do you think you're very strong? Call someone? Are you an idiot? If you want to kill him, then just do it."